the Nations Cup is along the way. Red Bull X 2019's at Grand Valley Highway 1. Let's see what happens as we get ready for our last event before the World Finals in December. Here's the grid then. Takuma Miyazono lines up on pole position after taking victory in the sprint race by 0.03 of a second from this man, Valerio Gallo, alongside him on the front row there, with Sasaki heading row 2 and Jose Serrano alongside on row 2 alongside him was there. Row 3 is headed by Angel Enestrosa, the Chilean driver, with Callum Roach. Good performance for him in the sprint race to qualify in 6th position ahead of Guy Barbara, the Australian. Next up, you've got Adriano Carrazza. He'll be hoping for good fortune here tonight. Robbie Heck down in 9th position on the grid, but then we've got a couple of outliers. Kylian Drumont, didn't expect to see him quite as far down the order in 10th position, and Koke Lopez, the man who leads the championship, down in 11th with Kai de Bruyne, the unlucky Dutchman for company. Now, our first look at the tyre strategy. Unsurprisingly there, Takuma Miyazono going on the soft compound tyre. He wants to do what we saw in the Manufacturers' Cup a couple of hours ago, Jimmy, and break away early.
Yeah, very similar strat here. I mean, basically, if you're at the front, go for the soft tyre, break away, try and use that in the space you have in front of you, and just hope you don't get overtaken by the car behind. That is worst case scenario for Miyazono, so he needs to lead this first stint. Likewise, on the other side of the coin, we've got Guy Barbara, Robbie Heck, Drumont, Koke Lopez and Kai de Bruyne all opting to start on that hard compound tyre towards the back of the field, get out of the way early while you're in traffic, and then get onto that fast tyre later on.
Well, let's see what is going to happen. There is Angel Enestrosa, the Chilean driver, returning from injury after breaking his leg last year, and he's back to full fitness now. We'll see whether he is going to be able to get the cat amongst the pigeons and crucially get himself off the bottom of the scoreboard. It's going to be all eyes on the lights in a few moments' time. Nations Cup action about to begin then here for the grand final. 27 laps of action begins now as Takuma Miyazono leads the field across the line, followed by Gallo and Sasaki coming down in towards turn 2. This is the first big heavy braking zone. The field, of course, a fair bit spread out due to that rolling start, and Miyazono with a lot more grip underneath him as well, courtesy of those soft tyres. Let's see what happens with the medium shod runners. Will they start squabbling amongst themselves, or will they start playing it safe in the early stages of this race? Either way, it's Miyazono that leads the way out in front through the first few corners. Enestrosa there having a half look to the inside, but also then gets in turn overtaken by Callum Roach.
Yeah, he had contact there with Sasaki, which put him back into the field, so already the first move we've seen, possible contact. In fact, there was contact. The stewards having a look at that right now, but to be honest, just this first lap stuff, you know, it is what it is, but you see the cars snaking through this midsection. Callum Roach up into 4th place. A great start from the American driver, so him stamping his intent fairly quickly is Callum, as we now come on to this little mini back straight here. Opportunity to overtake if you're close enough using the draft. Will Callum Roach do that in Sasaki here? Is he try? Because we've seen Roach before in these X2019s. He's pretty quick in these, so one to watch, I think.
Yeah, he needs to have some good fortune. He hasn't had any of that so far this year, has Callum Roach, another driver who's not off the bottom of the scoreboard. You can see the advantage of that soft compound tyre. 1.5 seconds, and we're not even at the end of the first lap here for Takuma Miyazono. Gallo building a bit of a gap though to Sasaki in 3rd position. The slipstream range about 1.1, 1.2 seconds or so, and Gallo's trying to break out of that slipstream range. You can see coming down the start-finish straight here, Roach right on the wheel tracks here of Takuma Sasaki. I think he's a bit far away, and we see a smorgasbord of hard tyre shod runners. Barbara, Drumont, de Bruyne and Lopez all getting off that hard tyre as soon as they possibly can. They're going on to the mediums by the looks of things.
Well, that's one of two things. Either they're very confident the medium tyre can go a long way in this race, as can the soft, or it's going to be a free stop for a double soft, as we've seen in a couple of races before. Koke Lopez, unsurprisingly, coming in straight away. This is someone who needs to get out the pits and have some clear area. I'm not sure he's going to, though. Everyone's pitting at the same time. So where is Koke? He's towards the backwards back, isn't he? So yeah, some people have tried the same thing, but we'll see if it works out.
He's going to have a little bit of work here, is Koke Lopez. You can see him down there in 12th position, but what's the gap relative to the rest of the field? It's not going to be a great deal, is it? Guy Barbara just getting overtaken there by Kylian Drumont as the rest of that field filters on through. Let's have a look here with Roach, Enestrosa, Serrano. So Enestrosa biffed it up the inside. He was too late on the brakes into Sasaki, and Serrano just an innocent passenger there, but Roach saw the doors opening up, the seas were parting, and walked straight through it.
That almost worked. Sasaki wasn't there. It would have been fine, basically.
So it didn't work then, is what we're saying?
Almost, you know. Sasaki, meanwhile, managing to close that gap a little bit to Valerio Gallo at the end of lap 2 there. Important to do that, I think, because Enestrosa there getting a 1 second penalty. To be fair, that is consistent with what the stewards have done so far, so not entirely surprised to see that.
Yeah, no surprise at all there. Here is Jose Serrano, 1/3 of the Nations Cup lineup, which won the title in 2023. Back when that was a team-based competition. For 2024, it's an individual competition. It's winner takes all stakes. and we look forward to seeing what's going to happen in the World Finals. Takuma Sasaki still with Callum Roach right on his rear wing as he tries to find his way past. At the moment, they're all being relatively well behaved as it stands for now. You can see a fair big gap there back to Drumont. Of course, they've all made their pit stops, as we know, but 25 seconds or so. So Drumont with a nice bit of clear air in front of him, but he's not got too much of a time to sit there and think about it because he's got Barbara De Bruyne very close behind. Lopez, in turn, is about 3 or so seconds off the back of that field at the moment, so he can run relatively comfortably for the time being, but if he does pick up the pace, he'll begin to get into the dirty air, which, as we know, is quite prominent on these heavy downforce cars.
Yeah, of course. So always good to keep that in mind. So good to note, by the way, our current Nations Cup standings. We have 6 drivers who are sort of within touching distance of the lead. We've got Coco Lopez leading on 8 points, Valerio Gallo 7, Miyazono 6, then Drumont, De Bruyne and Serrano all on 5 points apiece. So either of these drivers with a good result today could see themselves rocket to the top of the order. It's been a very close season so far, and this is, I think, going to continue into the grand final.
I just love this circuit as well. The fantastic atmosphere. Of course, it is a fictional track, but it's based on a real-life location, the Grand Valley Highway, and just the scenery is beautiful, especially as you head over that viaduct in particular. The wide shot there making these cars looking absolutely resplendent in the sunshine. Roach still keeping tabs here with Takuma Sasaki, not letting him have a lot of breathing room at all.
I was going to say on the circuit, I was going to sort of get my glasses on the Yamanoids and say that I'm not quite sure it's to be a grade 1 circuit with these cars. There's not much runoff there. It's literally a cliff there.
Yeah.
If you get it wrong.
That's a rally stick.
Yeah. Luckily, none of our guys testing whether the Expo 2019 can fly or not. For now, anyway. Coco Lopez going from bad to worse for him. Looking down at that. 12th place, 4 seconds at the back. What do you do with your Coco Lopez? I mean, he's our current Nations Cup leader. I've got a feeling he won't be after this race.
No, it's a very good opportunity for others to capitalise. Miyazono, Gallo, all within touching distance. Gallo on 7 points, Miyazono on 6 points, despite failing to score last time out in the second round of the championship in Prague. So we'll see whether he's able to take advantage of that. But like you said, Lopez needs a minor miracle at the moment. There is Adriano Carrazza sitting in 6th position for now. Kind of in no man's land really at the moment, because Jose Serrano is up ahead of him by about 1.7 seconds or so.
Yeah, so I mean, not much you can really do at the moment in that scenario. But Miyazono, 5 seconds to the lead now, and Gallo's just been passed actually by Sasaki. We just missed that on screen. I think it's just ahead of us right now using the 6th screen. So Gallo down to 3rd place, Sasaki up into 2nd, but Roach there as well. So these 3 cars really close for 2nd place right now, and they need to be careful about this. And we say this so often that obviously you're a racing driver, you want to be as high up the order as possible, but if you're squabbling every corner, you're just giving time away to the cars around you who are not doing that, who are driving on the ideal racing line, not having to brake earlier or later. So you have to really make sure the move is worth making before you make it. Yeah, Miyazono putting an absolute cracker of a strategy at the moment so far. You can see there 5 seconds he's got in 5 laps or so he's putting a good chunk of time compared to the rest of the field. The question is, how much is he putting into his tyres? How long are they going to last? Of course, the mediums will be longer. They're a harder compound, relatively speaking. But of course, the converse with that is that they are slower over the course of 1 lap. So we'll see how that's going to pan out for Miyazono, and when those tyres will start to degrade to the point where they don't have any performance advantage over the medium shod runners. Just to give you an idea of how much quicker Miyazono was, last time around a 1:27.159, Sasaki a 1:27.748, so about 6 tenths of a second or so to the good of his compatriot. Let's have a look here at Sasaki versus Gallo then. So this is through the right-hander. Start finish straight, a big snap of oversteer there for Gallo. Did well together that. That could have very easily been similar to what we've seen with Kylian Drumont all the way back in Montreal, where he spun it just coming out the corner. These cars, a lot of horsepower, over 800 brake horsepower in these cars, and these guys don't like running the TC, so imagine trying to control that every lap with tyres that are getting steadily worse, and you can see Gallo's problem. And to add to that, Callum Roach is now part of Gallo's problem as we come down to T1. That little kink there, I think, saves a lot of people into the first corner.
No doubt.
It turns it into a bit of a one-line corner, that. So this corner coming down here, T6 ahead, but no, isn't a one-line corner. Let's see if Callum Roach in front can do anything. We're on board Jose Serrano. Good viewing seats here for Jose Serrano, but going to be a bit higher right now. Although to his credit, seems to have the best tyre condition of all the drivers around him on our information we have here. So just whisper into those medium tyres at the moment.
I'm loving this gyro-style cam that we're using here in the GT7 series. We've been using it for a good number of years. Have you noticed Formula 1 have started using it?
Miyazono penalty.
Yeah, so what's happened there?
Must have been track limits somewhere. 1 second penalty, so he must have just taken a little bit too much out of one of the corners. Very easy to do that around here. Track limits very strict in these GT World Series events because, trust me, if there's an advantage to be had, well, these drivers will find it. And the stewards right on that. That 1 second penalty, it's not really a 1 second penalty though, is it, Tom?
No, because it's about 1.5 seconds. You lose all the time and the speed as a result of taking that penalty, because of course your car slows down to a set speed. So Miyazono, it's not put him on the back foot as such, he's still got a healthy margin, he'll still manage to retain the lead, but all of the advantage that he's built up, 5.5 seconds or so there and thereabouts, is just being washed away. Now let's have a look and see what happened here. So this will be one example of extended track limits. Oh, he just hit the wall on the outside there. And that will just, again, that'll be one example, because it's all awarded in the game. It's not done by the stewards one. So essentially they'll be accruing all these incidents over the course of it. So that's just, let's say, one example of it.
So strict, isn't it? I mean, these guys are the best in the world, so you expect that from them, but it can be very easy to make that mistake, and really definitely punished here for Miyazono. And you can see there how we work our penalty system there. You cross the penalty line, the car has to slow down for a second, then you can be back on the gas again. So that time slowing down, that time speeding up, all takes away from the cars around you. Still on board here with Jose Serrano, still in the same place as he was last lap, but again, just looking after those tyres. I think this is a sensible thing to do in this position. If the cars in front of you aren't that slow, moving at a good pace, just keep the tyres alive, stay within touching distance, maybe also save a bit of fuel. That's going to be a big part of this race here. There's going to be 35 litres or so of extra fuel needed for these guys over the course of the race distance. It's 3 litres per second. Sorry, I did get it right here.
It's going to take about 20 seconds to fill the car, I think, there and thereabouts, or possibly even a little bit more.
So if you can save 3 litres, you get yourself in 3 seconds.
Absolutely, which is night and day in a race.
Yeah, which is something that Miyazono just lost.
Yeah, exactly. So Miyazono is still lead, but look at those rear tyres, they're now coming towards the end of their useful life, and indeed he comes into the pit lane then at the end of lap 7. So we're going to have a new leader. It'll be Takuma Sasaki, followed by Valerio Gallo. The question is, where does Miyazono emerge in relation to the rest of the field? Is he going to be right down plumb last, or he's not going to be plumb last, is he? He's going to come out ahead of Drumont here. He'll slot back in theory into a nice little gap there, Takuma Miyazono. He's onto the medium tyre, so he's not going to be a sitting duck compared to the medium shod runners behind him as well. So this will work out quite nicely for him, and he can just go and run his own race and just set the pace as he needs to. He exits out of the pit lane then at the start of lap 8 onto the medium tyres here for the former race leader.
I think that was quite clever. I think he took the penalty and went, okay, right, I've now lost a bit of time. Where am I going to come out? Okay, there's a nice big gap there. Let's go into that. Let's put the mediums on and let's just run, as you say, Tom, some nice, consistent laps. Here's what we think the tyre strategy is going to be, although we've seen people coming on lap 1 for the get rid of the hard tyre, so that, throw that out the window, get rid of that. But just the hard tyre, it just doesn't seem to be viable in a lot of his races. It doesn't heat up quick enough, doesn't quite have that pace, and the longevity isn't worth it for the sprint races.
No, we did have a time where we had like a minimum tyre period where you had to run it for a minimum of 3 or 4 laps or something like that, but for reasons unbeknownst to myself, we're not doing that at the moment. So drivers just getting off the hard tyre as quickly as they possibly can. You can see Sasaki there just picking up a bit of dust into the face of Valerio Gallo, who had that warning sign, if you remember, a few laps ago. Meanwhile, right behind them, Callum Roach and Jose Serrano very close to one another. Roach in 3rd place, but Serrano bearing down on the American driver as we come across the timing line, and Serrano looking to try and make a move on Roach in towards turn 2. He's got the inside line and he's got track position, but can he make the move stick? Roach gives him racing room. There's a little hint of contact going through turn 2. On the exit, they still continue to run side by side as they flick it through the left-hander. We're going to come into a right-hander before too long. Roach it is that's still in front, and Serrano I don't think is going to be there unless he's going to have a lunge to the inside, but it's still fairly early in this race to be making moves as rash as that.
Yeah, we've seen that trouble with that first corner. You just can't quite get alongside. To go up the inside for the hairpin, you need to go a long way around to get there. So you need a big overspeed. Serrano just about got there, but Roach's exit was good enough that he could just pull back ahead and stay in 3rd position for now. On board with Valerio Gallo, currently 2nd in our points standings. It's been a good last race out there, of course, taking the win at Prague. Will we see a repeat here at Tokyo at the Grand Valley circuit here? I don't know. I mean, he's done well so far. He's had that one moment, but again, he's doing what he sort of needs to do, just sort of staying where he needs to be, maybe saving a little bit of fuel. But we all know following a car in front can also increase tyre wear. So here is a replay of Serrano's attempted win at Roach couldn't quite come off him.
Yeah, had a look on the inside there. Roach gave him racing room. Fair play, because he could have closed the line there. We could have ended up with a car possibly going off into the sea. But Roach just holding firm on the outside, knowing that the track come to him a little bit later on around that corner, and so he holds on to third place. Carranza's picked up a penalty as well, so presumably that must also be for track limits, because we haven't seen stewards investigating anything at the moment. Meanwhile, Serrano there still sitting in fourth position. Carranza 1.8 seconds back of that, seems to have become a little bit further back than that, which might see Inestrosa able to take profit and move himself up into fifth.
I get the impression that both Roach and Gallo are getting just a little bit impatient. I don't like that stat. Not a fan of that stat.
Is that because you're...
It's because I'm very close to that myself, and I've got loads of stat up. Whatever.
How's your back today? Is it all right?
I don't know.
Did you squeak when you woke up? You definitely like stick to WD-40 on it or something. That happens as you get older, right? So I've heard.
Leave me alone.
Valerio Gallo it is at least. Look at the fuel consumption, by the way. We were mentioning about that a little bit earlier on. Miyazono, who led this race quite comfortably by a margin of about 4 seconds or so when he came in for his pit stop, he's only used a litre of fuel more than Takuma Sasaki, so it's working out quite nicely for him here so far.
Callum Roach, though, who you said has been quite quick, is really using quite a lot of fuel at the moment, so he needs to bring that down. Yeah, as I said earlier on, we reckon it's about 35 litres extra you're going to need to box for to complete this race distance. Look at the mirrors, you can see just behind there, Valerio Gallo, Callum Roach there, large in the mirrors once again. Will he go for a move? He's going to stay there for now. I think he knows he's going to save that fuel. Big lift there from Callum Roach just to make sure that he can match these guys on fuel.
13 seconds it will take for that extra 35 litres to go into the tank. Just a bit of quick work. I know, Ed, I tell you what, it's like I listened to the briefings that we had before the start of this one. Jose Serrano now right on the back of Callum Roach once again. The top two trying to build a bit of a gap out to the likes of Roach and Serrano, just to give that bit of breathing space really. It's important that they're able to run their own race and not get too much bother from behind. It's going to be a bit of a slow burner, this one, so once the strategies all begin to diverge and then they pick up a little bit later on, we'll see exactly how it is all going to play out. At the moment, Miyazono is doing an absolutely superlative job. What's his pace relative to the other medium short runners? 27.6? That's pretty good. It's not the fastest, but it's okay, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in the ballpark. It's one of the quicker medium runners, but it's faster than the guys up front by a fair bit, so that's the one to keep an eye on, it seems, because all the while Miyazono is lapping quicker than the cars that we're watching right now. When all the pit stops and said and done, that gap's going to come back to him. Callum Roach getting it a bit wrong there through the right-hander. That'll make these next set of corners even more difficult. It'll be slower for exit. Serrano might have a chance of just dipping a wheel there into that gravel on the outside. You can only dip it in there a little bit though. You saw what happened to Gallo when he tried it. Almost lost the car. Through the tunnel then, and then back out into the sunshine as we go on to lap 12 of 27. Serrano here in the toe of Callum Roach. Will he lift? Let's have a look. No, he's going, but he finishes a bit quicker than the cars in front. He's going to try and go for the move now. Yeah, fourth this time. Late on the brakes. Comes back across the front of Callum Roach. Forced him to slow down. But a little bit of oversteer on exit, but I think he's still got the move made. Yeah, that's the beauty of that corner, is it can just give you an opportunity to live another day, as it were. Roach is not going to take this one lying down, though. He might try and send it back from the inside into the hairpin. Nope, Serrano's got him covered off for now. So Roach is going to have to think about it a little bit later on in the lap. The thing is though, look at what that's done. It's only one overtake, but the gap it's built for Gallo is up to 1.2 seconds or so, from about 6 tenths of a second, so it's doubled just as a result of that one manoeuvre. Yeah, I mean, if I was Valerio Gallo right now, I am P2 in the standings. My main rival is currently last and not going to score any points. And Miyazono, I guess now, will be the closest in the standings to him, seemingly out front. Just take it easy, I think, at this point, because whatever happens, the gap going into the grand final isn't, into the world final isn't going to be big enough that you can be comfortable. So I think just take it easy for now, Valerio. Save that little bit of fuel. Think about the long race here, as I think he is doing, and no more silly mistakes. Sometimes the mistakes creep in for Valerio. He's under pressure. Yeah, well, I'm sure he's wise to that one. Miyazono's been able to bring the gap down to Adriano Carrazza to about 2 seconds or so. So these medium tyres, again, now coming towards the end of where they need to be, really. So that means that they're going to be coming into the pits before too long. Lap 13 out of 27 we are, and you can see just how much Miyazono picked off of Takuma Sasaki in terms of the lap time difference. 0.3 of a second on lap 10, nearly a second on lap 11, and that gap is going to
just increase over the next couple of laps or so, depending on when Sasaki decides to come into the box.
Yeah, I mean, like every lap, it's 6 tenths average there between all of those. So really is getting on now. It's Miyazono. He's got to do this. This is the stint, the important stint for him. Whenever you have clear track in front of you, you've got to push into that gap. You've got to really use the tyre when you can. Sasaki, I get the impression he is trying hard, but the tyres are just starting to fall away from him now. Those rear tyres are getting to the point where they're going to start being, basically you start sliding, you heat up more, you slide more, and it's just you just tumble down the well from there, you know.
So put a bit of flesh on the bones for me, Jimmy. If you're Takuma Miyazono, you've got to get yourself into that zone. How do you not let the pressure come to you as a driver?
I mean, to be honest, it's quite easy when you have no one around you. You just go, right, okay, I know how to drive this circuit. I know my braking points. I know the speed I have. Let yourself get into that rhythm. I mean, I know there's a big crowd behind you. I know you can hear the commentary as you're in the event as well, but you've got a set of very good headphones on. Just focus on what you're doing. You can't control anyone else, and you control what you're doing. And Miyazono is so good at that. So we'll keep an eye on him. We'll keep an eye on how he progresses. Sasaki, of course, still out, still not boxing. Karatsa opting to come into the pit lane as in the Stroza gets on what I suspect is a track limit penalty a bit wide there for Sasaki. That would have slowed both him and Gallo up somewhat. Lap time wise, Sasaki can see there 28.3, which compared to Miyazono on his last lap did a 27.2.
So Gallo will ride on board with then Sasaki, a bit of a warning sign. A handful of corners ago, that snap of oversteer, and those snaps of oversteer might not sound like a lot, but they can prove to be very detrimental to your race, especially if you allow the competitor that's chasing you to get through. You can see just how committed these drivers are having to be going through this series of corners as well, going through the daylight into the tunnel and then back into the daylight once more as we head through the final sector. This circuit full of undulation, full of lots of twists and turns, and a lot of medium speed corners as well. And you can see there, that again, just going onto the curb on the outside, that's a great opportunity for the rear to snap away from you, especially as you're tired, get that all more worn. In terms of the lap times, Miyazono last time around 27.2, Sasaki at 28.3, so Miyazono really in the groove at the moment, and crucially a lot faster than the medium shot runners who have not pitted yet in front of him. So we'll wait to see how long it's going to be before these drivers blink, because I think as soon as Sasaki blinks, the rest of the drivers are probably going to follow suit, because they want to try and stay as close as they can. They decide not to at the end of lap 14 though.
It's still going round for now. Still looking pretty similar throughout the top three, but Captain Roach definitely in a fuel deficit in fourth place right now. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Robbie Heck, long way off the back of the field. Not quite sure what happened to him. I think he's probably taking his fuel now and is just hoping he can drive into a gap, but he is actually not too far ahead of this little pack here. He might end up being lapped, which disaster, of course, for Robbie Heck. This event definitely not gone his way.
No, Robbie Heck with a fair bit of work to do. Like you say, he has taken fuel, no doubt about that, but 40 seconds off the back of the rest of the field. Something of a quiet race for him so far.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, so 72 seconds, 72 litres of fuel he's got on board, so he definitely has taken that fuel on board compared to the rest of the field. But this is interesting as well, because it kind of forces the hand, actually, of the top five, because they will need to take fuel, I'm sure, the next time around, unless they're going to do the hard tyres and just do that one lap in the middle of the race.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I'm not sure how you want to do it that way, but we'll see what the drivers come up with. We are now past midway in this race. Watching Jose Serrano, of course, Nations Cup champion as part of Team Spain in 2023. This year hasn't quite had that same fire. He's been fast, but he's not quite been someone who's been in contention for the win, I think it's fair to say this year.
It's really easy, isn't it, for things like this to snowball as well. You start off on the wrong foot and suddenly it just gets worse and worse. And for the drivers as well, I'm not just talking about the events. Now we do see the pit stops coming in. So the top two go in, but Serrano thinks he's got enough life left in his tyres to go for one more lap. So he's going to try the overcut, the rest of the field trying the undercut. Seemingly Sasaki, Gallo, Roach and Inestrosa all in the box. Just finishing my earlier thought, it's easy for things to snowball. And if you start off on the wrong foot, your sprint race doesn't work out well, it can really, again, put you on the back foot for the grand final. Look at Koke Lopez as a prime example of that. He's made no inroads, no impression so far in this race. Now, a divergence in tyres here as well. So Sasaki has gone to the hard tyres, but he's taking no fuel on board. Likewise, Inestrosa as well. But you can see the soft shot runners are putting fuel on board and they're putting the soft tyres on. So they are going to have to put the hard tyres on what presumably will be the final lap of the race.
I think the idea maybe is just to try and run that hard in the best possible situation, so low fuel and not much distance, but we'll see. There you go, refueling rate, the one that I couldn't quite say properly earlier. It's 3 litres a second, so every 3 litres in the car you're stationary for 1 second, and it means that you have to really think about your fuel saving strategy around here, be it just lifting and coasting a little bit, maybe not revving as much down the straight, or even turning the fuel mix down in car, all things you can do as a driver to control that rate of fuel.
Quite a race so far for Kylian Drumont. Was expecting a little bit more from the Frenchman, actually. I think he'd have been expecting a bit more of his season up to now as well. Didn't get managed to score in Montreal. Got a handful of points on the board in Prague, but we know that he's got the pace to be a world champion. We know he's got the talent to do it as well, but this season proving to be an uphill struggle for the young Frenchman as Serrano comes into the box at the end of lap 16.
Yeah, I think Drumont, I mean, he's very much an everything or nothing. You'll get a win or you'll get a DNF from Kylian Drumont, which, to be fair, you know, Colin McRae's track.
Win it or bin it.
Works okay, but there's a reason why he only won the WRC once, isn't there? So there you go. But Serrano had the pits on that hard compound tyre, not opting for fuel. So he's going for the right. I'm going to go out, use this hard tyre with as less fuel as possible and just try and get around quickly and then come in for that soft afterwards.
Look at the advantage that Miyazono's got here now as well. He now leads the race after having pitted and done that divergence and strategy, but he's got 9, nearly 10 seconds of an advantage over Kylian Drumont. Don't forget to vote for your Michelin driver of the day after the race. During the extra lap press conference is when we will be announcing that. Kai de Bruyne here on Serrano going for a move on the inside.
Lovely.
That's a lunge from the Dutchman. Gets it done quite nicely and moves up into 4th position.
Now, again, to the benefit of Kai, he is +8 so far in this race, and he has used he's used a harder medium, so he's looking at the soft tyre to come as Kai de Bruyne. So this could be a good run for Kai. I mean, we know Miyazono and Drumont both have to go on to Miyazono has to go on to the hard tyre at some point. So it maybe isn't quite over yet.
And this is the thing, isn't it? These divergence and strategies. We saw it in the Manufacturers' Cup a couple of hours ago, where drivers will go onto the soft tyre at the end of the race, and that means they're inherently that much quicker. So this could prove to be a very exciting strategy here for Kai de Bruyne. 9.5 laps to go. We'll keep an eye on what is going to happen here for the Dutchman, because as Jimmy said, he's made a brilliant ascension through the field, a nice quiet race for him, and a podium finish would not be an unwelcome sight at all, especially given where he was in that sprint race about half an hour or so ago now, because he deserves a podium for Kai de Bruyne. We know he's got good pace. We've seen it over the course of the last couple of years or so. Comes into the pit lane then with 8 litres of fuel left on board. Drumont also into the box as well. The Frenchman here could be on for a strong result, quite possibly too. And Jorge Lopez likewise coming in as well. You wonder where it's all gone wrong for the Spaniard. It's not proven to be a particularly fortuitous race. So Drumont and de Bruyne in. They'll be taking fuel on board at this stage as well. Crucially, Drumont having to take about 3 fewer litres compared to de Bruyne there as well. So his pit stop will be shorter by a handful of seconds.
That is that's a long time for those softs to last. That's 9 laps. And we've seen that the furthest it's taken so far was Robbie Heck with 8 laps, and they were pretty knackered at the end of that. So I don't know. I mean, it's going to be it's having to go. Why not? You've got to have a go. And there you go. There's the advantage of sorting your fuel out. So Serrano out ahead of Kai de Bruyne, and Kylian Drumont up the road from both of them.
Yeah, de Bruyne losing 2 places there as a result of that longer fuel stop, essentially. So Drumont's now into 8th position, and he's got a good, comfortable cushion actually of about 25 seconds or so compared to Callum Roach in front of him. So he can just drive his own race at the moment. Roach and all the field in front of him owe another pit stop in this race. So let's see what happens here for Kylian Drumont. Has he pulled a bit of a blinder to get himself into podium contention in the latter stages of this race? At the moment, it's still Miyazono that leads by some 12 seconds. I think the victory for the likes of Drumont and Serrano, etc., are going to be that step too far. But as Sasaki comes into the pit lane with 8 litres of fuel and Barbara with 2 litres of fuel, they make their final stops, seemingly, in this race. Now, where does Sasaki go? Does he decide to go for the soft tyre? He surely has to, yeah, because everyone else around him is doing the soft tyre, and his will be 1 lap fresher compared to those who pitted last time around as well.
I was going to say, I wonder what happened to Valerio Gallo, but he took fuel earlier in the race, so he's got fuel to the end now, whereas Carrazza and Miyazono both need to pit for pretty much a full tank. So let's see where Gallo actually comes out here. So Gallo's going to be quite competitive with his drivers around him once Miyazono boxes. Sasaki coming onto that soft compound tyre and now leaving the pit lane. Does he come out ahead of this little train behind him? This will be absolutely... he needs that. No, he doesn't. Behind Serrano, and not just about coming out ahead of Kai de Bruyne, but Sasaki back into the pack now. So you're seeing what the lack of fuel saving has done even though Sasaki led most of the start of this race here after Miyazono boxed, that was it. He didn't quite save the fuel in the right way, and now he's back in the pack again.
Well, it's proven to be a bit costly for some drivers here, this fuel strategy. So Drumont there in 5th position. Serrano and Sasaki not too far adrift. Now Miyazono into the pits. Oh, look at that for a fuel strategy. 1 litre left. You can't cut it any finer than that. If there's a man who knows how to eke the maximum out of his car, it is Takuma Miyazono. And don't think that he was slow last time around as well. He was a 27.6 across the line. So it's not like he's been doing massive fuel saving. He's just timed it really well.
Yeah, I mean, onto that hard compound of tyre now. Now, here's the agonising part of the drive. You just have to wait for this fuel to go in. Now, Gallo has gone up into the lead, into second place. Karatsa in the lead right now. Karatsa's got to come in at some point. He hasn't got enough fuel to get to the end, so take him out of the equation. Yeah, and Gallo's also got to serve another pit stop because he owes the whole compound tyre, doesn't he? But what's the gap, I think, to Miyazono? That is the big question.
Well, Miyazono's surely going to come in because he's not going to finish the rest of this race 7 laps on the hard tyre. That would be very detrimental. In comparison to everybody else, the longest that we've seen on the hard tyre to date is 3 laps, and it's about 1.7 a second a lap slower. So I'm sure that Miyazono's going to do one and done.
Surely not, because like that's going to give the race away doing that.
Well, unless he wants to have more pace at the end. But a hard tyre for 7 laps, that's a risky strategy. But he had to come in because he needed fuel. He had no choice, did he?
That's not worked out very well for Takuma Miyazono. I think he's made a mistake there, if I'm honest. If you come in again now, you're giving away, I don't know, 15 seconds.
But then the converse is that you'll have more pace in the race, but you've got to make those positions up. You've got to gain that time back, essentially. Clyde de Bruyne picks up a 1-second penalty for a collision then. So that's unfortunately going to put pay to any possible podium results for the Dutchman, I'm afraid. So, Karatsa is that leads then. Let's try and work out this one.
I'm sitting here looking at this.
So Karatsa leads. He owes another compound of tyre. How much fuel has he got on board? Not enough. He's got 6 litres. So he's going to come in at the end of this one. You can forget about him. Gallo's already taken fuel. He owes another pit stop because he hasn't run the whole compound of tyre. Here is De Bruyne about to serve his penalty, by the way, and allows Sasaki to go through into 7th position. And then further down the order, you've got Callum Roach, again, owes another pit stop, owes the hard compound of tyre, has got fuel on board. Miyazono on the hard tyre. To the end of this one, over the course of 7 laps, he's going to be right up against it if that is indeed his strategy. If he's going to go to the end of this race on the hard compound of tyre, he's going to be hemorrhaging time. But of course, he's got that in his back pocket for now. It just depends on what happens with everybody else once they have all sorted their strategies out.
I was going to say, I feel like this race is sort of coming to Valerio Gallo at the moment, from what I can see on him and Callum Roach looking very fast. I just don't think that being on that hard time, I mean, we'll check out Miyazono's lap times, but I just don't think he's going to be able to compete with those on the soft around him. I mean, we are going to see Gallo and Roach and the like come in for that hard tyre. They have to use that at some point. But it's going to be fresher, and they're going to have similar fuel, and the gap is always growing at the moment. So it basically depends on how long Gallo can stay out on the soft tyre, and how long he can keep the pace up of the 26s.
Let's have a look at De Bruyne here with Sasaki. So this is the penalty that he picked up. He goes up the inside of Sasaki. Pushes him wide a little bit onto there, and then there's a smattering of contact as Sasaki rejoined. Tries to close the door a little bit, and well, there we go. Right, so Karatsa's in, no fuel left on board, 0 litres. That, well,
that in, didn't they?
yeah, there's as close as you like, and then there's running on fumes. I reckon that they probably had to coast the last couple of metres for that one. Serrano's picked up another penalty here of a second as well due to track limits.
I'm keeping an eye on the lap times of Takuma Miyazono. This is really important now. Gallo still has a good bit of tyre life left. I think he can take these tyres maybe a couple more laps. We've seen 8 laps out of some of the cars so far. We might even see 9 if that tyre can go that far.
So what Gallo needs to do here is he needs to drive as fast as he possibly can, but the problem is that he owes that hard compound tyre. He needs to build up that gap so that when he takes that final pit stop, he's got that cushion in his pocket if Miyazono's going to stay out on the hard compound tyre. There's a lot of ebbing and flowing to go in this race, and you can see the difference in tyre compounds here and how important that is. Look at that. Drumont last time around, he's on the soft tyre, Miyazono's on the hard. 2.1 seconds. That's a fortnight around here.
And that's something else as well. If Drumont catches Miyazono, and there's no defending against that sort of lap time differential, you're going to just drive by the guy at that point. I really think this has all come undone for Miyazono. I think what happens, he just misjudged the fuel and got to the point where he had to change tyres coming in, and he didn't get to use all the medium stint time. I mean, for example, people ran that medium tyre 15 to 17 laps. He only did 12 before he boxed, so he lost out in 5-6 laps of that medium speed.
Well, if he's bothered about it, he's not letting his facial expressions show.
No, he's not.
When does he ever, to be fair? So lap 22 out of 27 we're on then. It's Gallo that leads, Roach in second. Roach again still owes that hard compound of tyre, but has the same fuel as Valerio Gallo. So that is a de facto position there for Callum Roach as it stands for now, because he's in exactly the same position, exactly the same strategy. Of course, he's got 5.5 seconds. 5.9 seconds now, as a matter of fact, to Valerio Gallo. So once it all pays out, I reckon that Roach will probably drop down to third, maybe fourth position here. So Drumont is closing.
Drumont's going to be the one to look out for. Drumont is really fast right now, but we do know that soft compound has got to go all the way to the end, so it's going to be a bit of a struggle to Kylian Drumont, but he's got the pace. Watch out for the Frenchman. I think maybe he's becoming a contender here. He had a really good middle stint, which put him in the position he's in now, but he does have the caveat that he's got Takuma Miyazono ahead now, who does not have to stop again. He's not going to just let you by. He's going to defend that position for his life. And same for Drumont. These guys don't have to stop. Roach and Gallo do need to stop, and both need to go into that line. Look at that lap differential there. 2 seconds, 1.7 seconds.
It's the end of this lap.
Yeah,
surely.
he'll be there.
There's nothing that Miyazono is going to be able to do here, and Drumont's just going to go driving on by. So I said about the fuel strategy and Miyazono eking it out as long as he possibly could, and that could prove to be to his undoing here, because Miyazono significantly slower than Drumont, who got the carrot very well and truly dangled in front of him for a potential race victory, or at least a podium here this afternoon. And don't forget, of course, points all the way down to 6th place and the World Finals to come at the start of December. So every position is going to be absolutely critical. Through the chicane we go, on towards the start-finish straight, and this is going to be like taking candy from a baby for Drumont versus Miyazono, because there is going to be nothing that the Japanese driver is going to be able to do. So through the tunnel and bursting into the daylight, Drumont in the slipstream then here. I don't think he's going to make it into turn 2. Well, he's certainly closing. Kingslow left, and Miyazono's going to park the car on the middle, and unless Drumont can send it down the inside, which he can't, Miyazono parks it on the outside. But it's the exit of this corner where Drumont will have greater traction underneath him, and he may be able to set something up into the next right-handed hairpin. He's in the slipstream here of Miyazono, and he's surely going to be launching a move for the inside for third position. Down into the right-hander we go, and Drumont gets the better of Takuma Miyazono and moves up into third place. How critical is that going to be for the Frenchman?
Yeah, I think that was something that Miyazono was a bit clever there to let that happen. I think he knows that he can't defend right now. When you're on that hard compound of tyre, it's not a reflection of the driver's skill. You just don't have the grip, which means you can't get out of the corners as well, you can't brake as well, you can't use the high-speed grip as well. So you just find yourself managing, which is why the drivers all try and get off the hard tyre as soon as possible. And why we were so surprised to see him try and take it so long, he's got to take it to the end still from here. So what we're watching now is, when will Gallo pit? When will Roach pit? I assume fairly soon, just because those tyres are soft tyres. Roach into the pit lane. Okay, this will be a good indicator of where Drumont is in relation to Gallo, who's opted for another lap.
But Gallo's tyres are more worn than Roach's.
And the times are, well, they're not there. 28.3. Drumont is really becoming a contender now.
Yeah, Drumont could be in for the victory then here this afternoon in the grand final in Tokyo. Well, we said if in doubt, flat out, win it or bin it style, and it's not been a particularly fortuitous season so far for the young Frenchman, but it is coming to him absolutely handsomely here. Finished on the podium last time out in Prague with 5 points on the board. He could be set to take a maximum of 6 here today as well, and Miyazono's race still continues to unravel because Serrano is now right on the back of him as well.
Roach comes out in P7, so I think the pit stop's slightly longer than we anticipated there for Callum Roach, which by my maths means that I don't think Gallo's got the gap he needs.
It's 25 seconds, that's going to be tight though, isn't it? It depends on how much fuel he's got on board. It's about the same, isn't it? He's not going to take any fuel, so that's fine. Okay, right, so Gallo then, this is going to come down to the pit stops then here for the victory of this race. There is Kylian Drumont just up the road in the blue X2019, but Serrano is again putting in the pressure onto the back of Takuma Miyazono, who's in no man's land. He's got no answer to this one, and his race has come well and truly unravelled owing to a fuel miscalculation seemingly for him. Gallo into the pits then, 12 litres of fuel left, 2 laps of the race left. He'll make it to the end of that one, but he's going to be on the slowest, harder compound of tyre towards the end of this one, whereas Drumont is going to be on the soft compound of tyre, quicker over the course of this race. And Serrano still continues to pile the pressure onto the back of Takuma Miyazono for that final podium place here.
So where is Kylian Drumont? Going down the straight now, coming over the start-finish line. Gallo there waiting in the pit lane. It must feel like an eternity, and up into the lead goes Kylian Drumont. Go there. Oh, he's down to 4th place there. So hasn't done enough there to maintain the position. Miyazono battling with Jose Serrano, but can't quite keep the place. Serrano up to 2nd. Drumont from seemingly nowhere. 9 positions he's gained this race and is now leading with just under 2 laps to go.
He's done exactly what Coque Lopez wanted to do in Prague, coming from pretty much the back of the field up into the lead of the race, and this has been a quite brilliant strategy with just 2 laps remaining, and he's now got the quickest compound of tyres, fresh tyres, underneath him, and it could be bad to worse here for Takuma Miyazono, because Gallo, Sasaki, Etal are all very close behind, so the podium is very much under threat here for the Japanese driver, who drove a brilliant first stint of this race, but it is coming unravelled to the extreme, and you can see Sasaki piling the pressure onto the back of Gallo. Soft tyres for Sasaki, hard tyres here for Valerio Gallo, and is there anything the Italian is going to be able to do to hold off the charge of the Japanese driver? Over the viaduct we go, into the tunnel. Sasaki's going to have more grip going into the right-hander, but there's no track position there, but Gallo's a little bit wide, there's a bit of contact, the door is open there for Sasaki, but we flick it left, and Gallo can just live to fight another day as we come onto the start-finish straight. Wide there for Gallo. Sasaki sniffs the opportunity and he's ready to try and take advantage of it. He's trying every which way he can, but Gallo's defending the line through there. Into the right-hander we go, onto the start-finish straight. Sasaki's got the slipstream, he's going to have track position, and he's going to get 4th place here. Gallo squeezes him towards the pit wall, but Sasaki goes, thanks very much, and he's up into 4th at the start of the final lap.
Yeah, good attempt there from Gallo to keep that place, but he just can't defend from that straight line speed differential, or can he? Gallo having another go at Sasaki. Kind of Bruin's back in the mix after serving that penalty, so it's not over for Gallo yet. Miyazono still somehow holding on to a podium position, with Kylian Drumont putting away out front. What a fairy tale story for the Frenchman.
And the thing is for Miyazono, this could come to his aid, because Serrano's on soft tyres, but they're 10 laps old. They're absolutely clapped out. That's the problem though, is the soft tyres are now beginning to fall off a cliff. Look at the rear tyres here for Drumont and Serrano, 17-18%. We've only got 1 lap remaining, so it's still not possibly out of the question here for Takuma Miyazono to get 2nd. Is the victory still within his grasp though? There is Kylian Drumont, and the gap is shrinking down, a 28 flat for him. Miyazono last time around a 28.4, but Miyazono still on the back of Serrano. He needs to dispatch him as soon as he possibly can. I think the victory's going to be out of the question, but 2nd place could be on the cards at crucial points going into the World Finals as well. If he can find his way through up the inside, it's going to be a tall order, but Kylian Drumont though has timed this one to absolute perfection. What a drive and what a strategy for the young Frenchman as he comes through the tunnel for the final time. Kylian Drumont takes his first victory of the season in the Gran Turismo World Series. The Frenchman is on top in Tokyo. It's Jose Serrano in 2nd, Miyazono takes 3rd, Gallo in 4th, just by 200ths of a second from Takuma Sasaki in 5th, and De Bruyne right close behind as well. What a race, what a strategy, what a finish, and what a drive from the young Frenchman Kylian Drumont. Well, the cream always rises to the top eventually, and Kylian Drumont, they always say form is temporary and class is permanent. That was a masterclass from the youngster.